This young couple bought a $490,000 home in Philadelphia, and they did it in February of 2026. Yes, first quarter of 2026 has been a first-time homebuyer bonanza. The number of first-time homebuyers is up 38% for the first quarter. And in this interview, they're going to give you all the tips that help them be one of those first-time homebuyers when everyone else thinks it's impossible. They did their planning. They talked about knowing your numbers as a really important part of it. And they said to make sure that you've got strategic advisors because according to them, you don't have to do this alone. And pay attention because there's a special bonus section at the end after we turn the microphones off. They said something else that was so cool, I had to turn the mic back on and share it with you. Time for another real life story. Let's hear it.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
Hi, everybody. I'm very excited. I've got Rich and Paulita. Paulita, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Rich and Paulita and their 2 cats in the background who are awesome. And they just closed on a home right after Valentine's Day, February 17th. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
And they've taken the time to come and chat with us today. So welcome to the show, you guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. Definitely super excited. Recently closed on a first home, and we're excited to take everyone through the process of that. And if you hear a little bit of noise in the background, we do have 2 cats that are also getting used to this new space. So we're all super excited.
Yeah, Naruto's an orange cat, so you know how they are.
Oh, it sounds like they just knocked something over in the background. Is this
sure.
Is this kind of a normal thing? Or they're really starting to figure out where their new space is?
Well, he definitely likes attention, and we're still definitely moving in. So we got boxes and a lot of our stuff still hanging off and trying to find a home for all of that. So yeah, we're all still adjusting and definitely still in the move-in process.
Well, thanks again for being here. I'm so glad that you guys, get a chance. This is so fresh. We're just a month in for you guys. So let me start with the first question. All the first-time home buyers out there, especially here as we get into 2026, what's your biggest tip for people jumping into the process?
So I would say for myself, if you're a first-time home buyer, what you're going to want to do, definitely do your research firstly, but don't do that alone. Reach out to David. He will connect you with a realtor, and that realtor, I'm sure, has a team behind them that will know pretty much anything you could possibly have a question on about the process. So don't be afraid to reach out. Definitely use your resources, and there's plenty of good resources out there. You just have to know where to look and know how to get connected to them. So I think as a first-time home buyer, reaching out to you was probably, I would say, the biggest step, even though it didn't really require that much effort to actually do. So if you're shy or nervous about the process, don't be, even though it is a very daunting process, but there are people out there that are willing to put in the work and the effort to help you. You just have to get connected with them. So my advice, definitely reach out to David Sidoni. That's what I did. And within a few months, I'm in a wonderful home that my girlfriend and I both love. And I would say, reach out. That would be my top tip.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, but I would also recommend crunching numbers, because I feel like for a long time we were we want to buy one. We don't know if we can afford one. And I didn't really know how to crunch the numbers. So similar to Rich said, finding resources and crunching those numbers and figuring out it's actually not that hard. And then listening to a few podcast episodes and realizing, oh, it's actually really tangible, even though, this economy is crazy.
I have to say this because thank you so much. I mean, this has been a 7-year labor of love and a huge passion project for me. But I just want to let the audience know, we talked for what, 30 seconds before I turned on the microphone, and we've never talked before, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
100%.
Because you sounded like a damn commercial for me. But it really, what happened when you met with, I call him a unicorn, but for anyone out there that wants to learn this process, you guys had some money saved, but, the fact that that's your biggest tip, expand on what that was like when you met with a local specialized team that really cared about first-time home buyers. What did you discover? What surprised you? And, what were you excited about then? And how did that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, for anyone listening, definitely not a commercial. It's my first time actually meeting and speaking with David in person. And I can't emphasize enough how much he's helped through this process, just connecting us with the appropriate resources, pretty much getting everything cleared up for us in the beginning, which really helped kind of guide us through the entire process. Things that you kind of wouldn't even think about or know to think about or be aware of. That's why the realtor's there, is to clear all that up for you and answer any questions you might have, because not only does this market constantly change, and it's kind of your realtor's job to stay on top of that, stay on top of the changes, the adjustments, because you get tips. So I have parents who also bought a home. They bought it in the 2000s, early 2000s, and the market was much different back then. So a lot of the tips, that my parents were trying to give me, even though in general they are good tips, but in today's market, some of them don't really apply the same way that they used to, at least when my parents were buying a home. And so as a first-time home buyer, kind of going through those adjustments can be hard, and those changes, because you hear things, and a very common one is put 20% down on a home. Come to realize, not necessary to do. There are a lot of first-time homebuyer programs out there that let you put 3% down. And so just being aware of your options and what is out there is super helpful. And your realtor and, the lender and everyone else on your team can help guide you through that. So it's definitely huge help getting connected. You helped us get connected with Lindsay, who's a pro in the Philadelphia area. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Lindsay's awesome. Lindsay also has a really big team. So we worked with Lindsay and Madison, and they are so awesome. And I know Madison was like, I'm kind of new, and she was fantastic. We actually, I think, reached out to them, and our first house tour that we saw was on December 27th. And we felt so bad because we were like, it's right around Christmas, it's right around the holidays. But Madison was like, I literally don't mind. And then we met Lindsay, I think, on January 31st, maybe, or maybe January 2nd. But we had our home that we're in now figured out right around the holidays. And they are so flexible with working in the evenings, whatever we need, working on the weekends. And they understand that, we're trying to buy a house as soon as possible. So they're going to be flexible for us. So your team is awesome that you recommended us to.
I'm very fortunate. Over the years, we've only got 300 unicorns right now. That's 0.01% of the 3 million. I have actually let go close to 500 people because they didn't match. They didn't hit the unicorn standard, or it wasn't necessarily for them. When I first started working with your unicorn, she was a solo agent.
Wow.
I talk all the time. Yeah, I talk all the time about how the big teams are going to shuffle you down to the newest agent, and that doesn't get you the right service. But your unicorn, Lindsay, and I, we've had the same mindset from the beginning. And in Philadelphia, there's one team that's actually built the right way, where the buyer's agents coming in are getting the training that they're supposed to get, that you as a consumer kind of assume, well, doesn't everybody do that? Well, no. But okay, Paulita, I want to ask you this because you brought up knowing your numbers. You guys came in with a good chunk, and Richard, you just mentioned the possibilities. So did you guys look at different down payment structures with your team, and where did you guys end up with your down payment?
So I will say that when I say you should crunch your numbers, I did not personally crunch the numbers. Richard is my assistant. So before starting this process, I was really anxious and nervous to talk about finances, looking at huge numbers, committing to what would be the biggest purchase in our life, to date. And what I learned after listening to your podcast and after talking to Richard is that crunching numbers really is not as scary as it has to be. And once the numbers say that you can buy a house, then you can just buy a house. And that was really nice to hear.
And to kind of add to that point, what I think is important is knowing your options and also being able to crunch the numbers in a way that makes sense for your own personal situation. So they call it personal finance for a reason, is because everyone's situation is a little bit different. And so finding someone who's able to guide you through your own personal situation and help crunch the numbers in a way that makes sense for you, I think is super important. And also, and I know you talk about this a lot on your podcast. I've listened to a lot of episodes even prior to this. That rent versus buy calculation is super important. And that's so personalized. And when you can just find that intersection point, it really does do wonders. And you can be surprised. Your mortgage payment really is not that much higher than your rent payment. And if you can come up with that rent replacement strategy and, implement that and execute, you'd be surprised where you can end up with the dollar and the value that you're getting out of it. So can't really emphasize enough how much you've helped us through that process and just connecting us with the right people. So thank you.
It's not about that you have to actually write the numbers. It's just you have to know them. Yeah. If someone else writes it, that's fine. It's the knowledge. It's being able to take it all in. And you talked about the personalization and working with the team. And what your parents tell you is great, but I guarantee you there's a billion different loan programs. Forget about how you write an offer and how people are, what kind of concessions they're doing. Mm-hmm. So for you guys, you took a pretty significant jump from your rent to your mortgage. Was looking at your numbers going from, what did you guys go from, 22 to 3,500 a month or 3,500 a month?
So it was actually, we paid 22 in rent. And I think all in all, after principal, interest, tax, insurance, HOA, cover all your bases, we're looking at around 31, 32, somewhere in between that number. So really, overall, not that bad. And then kind of talking about the different mortgages and loans that are available, you're right. There are so many of them available, and kind of like sifting through to figure out which is the best option for you and your own personal case. So we ended up going actually with the adjustable rate mortgage, or an ARM. So we're locked in 7 years at the same rate. And then after that, it's a 30-year loan still. But after those 7 years, it'll readjust depending on the current market rate. So we'll kind of see where that takes us, decide on a plan a little bit later. But I think for right now, this was the right move for us. And kind of moving forward, if we need to adjust or refinance, what have you, it's nice to have all those options available.
And so my disclaimer to everyone out there is we do not endorse or say go out and run and do an ARM right now. ARMs are phenomenal if you're the kind of people that take the time to go over your numbers and know what you're going to do with it. I think it's incredible. It's kind of like there are people that say, don't pay PMI. That's ridiculous. And I'm like, dude, it's $60 a month.
Right.
You know, like if you're, what do you guys know? Yes. No. And it's not your fault. Mm-hmm. It's not your fault, man. It's like when you go online and you research, it's just, that's what everybody says. And, I just finished recording an episode where I broke it down, and it was like the principal and interest is 81%, and the taxes were 14%, and the insurance was, I don't know, like 5 or 6%. The PMI was less than 2% of your total payment. So, but knowing those numbers and understanding, it's like originally, 47% of renters still think you need 20% down, and that's just not possible where we're at. So, okay, so for you guys then, the ARM, that gets you a lower monthly payment, so you're comfortable. So did you guys get to keep some cash so you don't feel house poor, or what is the ARM the vehicle you used so you don't feel house poor with this new payment?
I would say we still have a little bit of cash left. It was important to us to have something to the side. You never know what type of things might happen with the house and what you might need to maintain or something like that. And I actually don't know if it's normal or not, but Rich was able to get our sellers to agree to a 1-year warranty. That is really awesome. So we didn't have to be too scared, but we did want to keep a little bit of cash on the side.
Yeah, and that's something Lindsay definitely helped kind of guide us through, is you're going to want a warranty on all the appliances throughout the house. So just kind of like bake that into the contract when you're going to negotiate. And so she helped us do just that. And kind of brings us to another challenge that we had. So during our inspection process, everything was perfect, sunshine and rainbows, really no issues. We were very happy with the results of that. And then we were doing a final walkthrough the day prior. It was the evening prior, actually, to closing. So walk by at 6 p.m., just make sure everything looks the same, everything still works. and we go to try our dishwasher and the machine won't turn on. So we're like, okay, great. And I see Madison instantly start stressing out. She's like, oh, it worked perfectly during the inspection and the walkthroughs and the visits that we made. And, the day before closing, here we have this issue. So she was able to help with that. And luckily, we do have that home warranty that was negotiated with the sellers. So the sellers purchased that on our behalf. So we're currently getting connected with different service people to come replace our dishwasher, which is nice that we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, you'd kind of be surprised as to the different unique challenges that come with purchasing a home. And it's always something that you really aren't thinking about and you're not really budgeting for. So it's nice that we had that warranty already in the contract written. So, and there's a few other challenges that I'm sure we'll kind of touch on a little bit throughout the podcast, but it's definitely a journey and definitely helped having Lindsay and Madison by our side, kind of walking us through that.
It's difficult because here we are trying to explain to you how this is going to be financially beneficial for you. But in the back of our mind, we know two things. It's never going to be more expensive and harder than your first year. That's the way it works. It's the way the math goes because, that gap between what rent would be and what your fixed mortgage is just gets bigger and bigger every year. But we also know that the home warranty is such a giant protector. Your appliances are covered. And then after that, your insurance. And then from your inspection, did you guys look at, what we call the big ticket items? Like, are you concerned about the roof or did you get to understand, okay, we're not going to have to do a roof replacement in the first 5 years?
Definitely a great question and things that we considered, and our inspector kind of walked us through. He's like, okay, this, that, and the third, these look good, but your water heater, this unit's 7 years old. This specific unit typically lasts 12 to 14 years. So this is one of those things that you do not want to wait until it breaks to replace. So keep that in mind. You have about 5 to 7 years of life left in your water heater. So having the inspector to kind of walk us through each major appliance that can potentially be a burden financially in the future, just kind of like give us the shelf life, what to expect, how to best maintain all of those systems, definitely helped. And the inspector, I feel like, again, the inspector was a recommendation of Lindsay. I felt like he really did a thorough job in explaining everything. I think you guys spent
like multiple hours together. And then when Rich was done, he texted me. He was like, oh, I'm just going to send you a couple notes. The notes were like 5 phone screens long, like all the details that the inspector said. And I was like, actually, this is awesome because I wouldn't have known any of that.
And so it's a fairly new build as well, which helps. So a lot of our appliances and such are still in date, but it's nice that, and we'll probably continue buying those warranties just so we don't have to worry about, replacing the appliances when they go bad. So it's nice that we had that option. And also the inspector was kind enough to, point everything out and really took his time to dig through, make sure there's nothing wrong with the property at all. So,
okay, I'm going to get deep with you guys right now. Future homeowners, you can take this. This is my personal opinion. The first year of the warranty is like a teaser rate. The next year, it's a lot more expensive. So I think it's worth $75 or $100 to ask that inspector to come back out. Now you're insured in case pipes burst or anything like that, but have them go through the checklist with all your appliances. And sometimes just starting a little savings account and for each individual appliance rather than getting a warranty, because the warranty, it can like triple. So that's just a little something to know. But I totally am with him on the water heater. I even will set reminders 10 years because some are 10, some are 12. But I'll set reminders on my phone and call my people and be like, change your water heater. And they're like, but it's not doing anything. I'm like, cool, wait till it bursts in your garage. Change your water heater.
Yeah, that actually happened at my parents' house, and my parents have a finished basement. And so my dad actually told us when we were looking for houses, he was like, the one thing I would recommend is don't buy a house with a finished basement. And we actually did buy one because we love the house so much, but at least our basement has tiles, which is interesting. We were touring this house and Madison was like, oh, this is interesting. There's tiles here, but it's actually better because at my parents' house, when the water tank burst, all the wood ended up warping. So that's what their basement was. Yeah.
Yeah. So then maybe 9 years.
Yeah.
And for sure, and for sure have a drip pan and all that stuff. It's crazy. I didn't know any of this stuff 20 years ago. And now I'm like an expert because that is screwing up someone's garage or basement is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back. So didn't understand the process, got connected with the unicorn team. What was the house shopping like? What was the HGTV television moment with you guys out touring homes?
It was so easy. We actually ended up going mattress shopping, and the sales associate was like, "Oh, are you guys look so stressed out right now? It must be so hard." And we were like, "I'm actually not stressed at all." And she was like, "Whoa, you guys must have like a really good real estate agent."
The horror stories, if you go online, you would think that home inspections are the scourge of American society. I can read through the lines. I'm like, oh, they didn't have a good realtor who didn't know a good inspector. And they hired random people that didn't know each other and were cheap. Voila. It can be easy. So did you enjoy it then? Did you enjoy going out and looking at homes?
For us, it was definitely a fun process, and we were considering a few different areas, but we really got locked in, the specific areas and neighborhoods that we were looking. And luckily, there were enough homes in this area that we were able to tour a few of them and get a good idea as to what we did like, what we didn't like, and kind of sift through that list of exactly what we were looking for in a home. And I think that we found it. We didn't spend that long, I would say, looking between the months of May and then I guess we closed in February is about that time frame. I think I reached out to you probably halfway in between that journey. And that's when things really started to accelerate and, started hitting the ground running. But we were looking here and there before that since May. So say about a little bit more than half a year.
Well, really smart use of that winter break time. You heard on my podcast me talking about the winter window of opportunity. And I don't know if you guys saw interest rates today, but
I did not. How does it look?
We went we dropped to 5.9, and thanks to oil and inflation, Friday we were at 6.5.
Oh wow, yeah.
And that would have been Friday, March 20th. You listening in the future. So, but you also now the Northeast is notoriously right now low on inventory. Because you were doing it in that December, January time, did you feel competition? Were there other people going for the homes, or was it still slow?
So I felt like the competition wasn't as strong as it would be had we waited for the spring or the summer season. And I would imagine the same home right now would definitely be getting a lot more visitors. The time that we went, it was right in between Christmas and New Year's. And luckily, Matt was super flexible enough. She's like, 6 p.m. right in that week, that's fine with me. And so a couple of days that week we went out, and the weeks after, I really feel like the time and you're 100% right, the competition in the winter is not nearly as much. A lot of people are looking to move in the spring and the summer. So the fact that we were looking at the time that we were, I feel like really did help and benefit us in the long run.
What were some of the differences that you guys felt as far as what you thought your wants were and your checklist versus when you actually walk through some of those homes? Because you brought up a great point. When you walk through the first couple of homes, you kind of go, oh, wait a minute, maybe we'll switch this around. Or so how was it for you?
So for us, going through those first couple of homes, you really put some eyes on what the home layout looks like, kind of envision yourself looking and, living in that home, seeing what that would look like. So kind of putting yourself in that space and that frame of, can I actually live here the next, 5, 7, 10 years of my life? So that's kind of something that I think Paulina and I really tried to do when we were touring these homes. And this home really did hit some of those boxes, some things that we were looking for in our area. And I feel like in any major city, parking is definitely an issue. So we were able to find a place where we can both park our cars. Works out perfectly.
Wow.
And then, another thing that we were really looking for, and call us bougie and whatnot, we really wanted double sinks in our bathroom.
Okay, in my defense, at our old apartment, we only had 2 sinks. So there was the one in the kitchen and then the one in the bathroom. And Richard's like shaving his face and I'm trying to do my skincare routine and there's only 1 sink. So we made a joke about wanting a home with 2 sinks in the bathroom. But actually, the house that we bought, we have 2 bathrooms with 2 sinks in the bathroom. So now we have 4 sinks to choose from. Yeah. And whatever elbows me, I'm like, you can go use the guest room bathroom.
So we have 2 bathrooms, each with double sinks in them, which is way more than we could have bargained for.
Yeah. We went from 2 sinks to 6 sinks. So it's been really nice. And it sounds like funny, but that's the truth, right? Because you want to look for something that you can see yourself living in. So the sinks was one thing. And then one thing that I feel like we didn't think about until we started touring these homes was we saw another house for a similar price to the one we bought. And it didn't have parking, but it did have more square footage. But when we went, it was like a multi-story house with a roof. And we counted and we decided we would actually need like 5 baby gates if we were to put them in once we had children, versus like at our home now, we only have 1 set of stairs, which is a lot easier to work with.
I could not agree more. I have so many, as the guy who had his 2 kids with his wife in Southern California in what we call a carriage unit, where you have the garage underneath, steps up to that, sunken living room, steps up to that, and then 2 flights of stairs up to, so I don't even want to tell you how much, because my wife went bougie and she went to some place called Boo Boo Busters or something like that, and got the most expensive gates. I was expecting them to be gold. It was ridiculous.
And you installed the gates on all the stairs, right? So that's a lot of gates.
Oh no, we paid apparently to have somebody do that. So, but they were expensive. But we had more gates. It was like Fort Knox in my house to go anywhere because every single level. But one of the things that you talked about, you said, besides the gates, does this one feel as spacious, even though it's smaller because it's not multi-level?
I would say compared to our rental, definitely more spacious. So we went from 800 or about 792 usable square feet to close to 1,300 usable square feet, 1,500 total. So it's a noticeable difference in the space. We have the same furniture from our rental that we brought to this home. And so just seeing it more spread out, it's like, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. This is what 1,300 versus 800 square feet feels like. So definitely a noticeable difference there. And I think the cats too have a lot more room to explore, and they're super excited about that.
That's awesome. And I love it. When people make decisions to buy a home based on whether or not their couch will fit in the home, that's when I go, okay, hang on. Let's let some things go here. Let's release, this is a $500,000 purchase. But the sink thing, it's not bougie. It's because when I do with people who really want that, I go, okay, let's not look for 2 sinks. Let's look for room for 2 sinks. Mm-hmm. And because that will, if a bathrooms are a certain size, you kind of jump up a little bit, maybe a $10,000 or $20,000 tier in the type of homes. And if that's important to you, that can be important to you. You just happen to get them installed in your 6 sink. Do you tell everyone we live in a 6 sink mansion? Is that how you explain it?
We should say that, though.
It's a good way to put
it. So how did it go? Were there other offers? Did you have to compete? Did you write at list price, over list price, below? How'd the negotiations go?
I actually don't know if anyone toured this house because coincidentally, right? Were the sellers like that too?
So I'm not sure about touring, and I don't know if that information can be disclosed. But what I can tell you is that we were the only offer that was put in for this home. And it was actually very quickly after the home went on the market. So it went on the market on the 10th of December, and we had pretty much put in an offer. I believe it was on the 30th day that the home was on the market. So we were the first offer, and I do think we lowballed them a little bit and perhaps offended them a little bit, which to Lindsay's point, she told us kind of not to do, and we strayed away from her advice, which was not wise thinking back on it. Definitely listen to your realtor. They've been in the game a lot longer than you have, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. But we did put in an offer. It was above what the original purchase price was that the owners made 4 years prior. But I still think compared to like market values and what they were expecting, it wasn't quite there. So we did actually meet a little bit higher than the middle of what they were originally asking and our original offer. So they did work with us. And I feel like a lot of that too, the price can get baked into the negotiation, which sure, you purchase a home at a certain price, but they also covered our realtor fee, which was really nice, which you don't really see in that offer or when you're looking at the Zillow prices. They also purchased this warranty on all our appliances, which you don't see in the home price when you're just browsing. So there's a lot of other things that you do have to consider when you're purchasing a home that aren't really reflected in, the exact value or what you see on Zillow, Redfin, or any of those other sites you might be using.
And as you move forward, you're going to go into secondary negotiations. And, fortunately, it's a newer home, so the inspection wasn't going to bring up gigantic issues. We're not going to talk about the dishwasher. That's fine. So I appreciate the fact that, you went through it and looking back, you're like, well, maybe we didn't have to, go that hard. But it's a nice testament to the team that they were still able to hold it together and not, offend anybody throughout the process. How was the process of being under contract? Was it a whirlwind? Did you, was it a lot of stuff really fast? How did it work? How did it go for you?
It was so easy for me. I don't know if I'm rich, but I had a great time.
Yeah, so I definitely took a lot of the secretary work on that. And it's, for those that don't know, it is a lot of paperwork. And if you're the type of person like me that needs to know and actually understand all the words on the page, you will spend a good amount of time reading and just kind of looking things up. Which, to that point, you do also have a realtor, hopefully a unicorn realtor that you can kind of rely on and help answer some of the questions that you might have. But it definitely is a process. And especially when you're under contract, it almost starts to feel like a full-time job for a little bit until the finish line at that point. So for those that are going through the process, definitely hang in there. There is a light at the end of that tunnel, and it's a rewarding feeling once you're finished with it. And much like anything, you have to put the work in to get that result that you're looking for. So I think for our outcome was very positive, and we're super happy with that journey.
That's fantastic. And, your partners each have your roles. If one person's going to be the secretary, then, Paulita, at least tell me you pack some boxes or something. Come on, girl.
I actually started packing as soon as we went under contract. And Richard's literally like, where are our towels? Like, where are my pants? And I'm like, everything's already packed. I'm like, we're going to be moved in as soon as we get the keys.
David, I do have to hand it to Paulita. She is great at that. And I was looking for a couple of my clothes. I'm like, Paulita, where are my jeans? She's like, oh, they're already packed away in the bag, ready to go to this new home. I'm like, okay, we're about 3 weeks out, but that's great. So she was definitely ready on that end and definitely helped a lot, making the actual physical move a smooth transition. So that was nice.
Yeah, David, I'm not sure what your advice is, but I will say Rich and I have both been looking at houses on Zillow for like over a year. And I don't know what you think about that, because we didn't even have like Lindsay at the time, but it took us until we found a house that we really liked online that we obviously didn't end up buying. We didn't even get the chance to tour. But once we saw that house and we were like, wow, there's a house like in this neighborhood that we could see ourselves living at, that's when we reached out to you to connect to a real estate agent. But I feel like both of us, and me especially, like I spent a lot of time looking for houses online. It was basically my role.
And I think what Paulita just said was definitely a pivotal moment in our experience. Is there was a house at a price that was affordable that we really liked in a neighborhood that we liked, but we didn't have the team set together already there, ready to kind of pull the trigger. And so when we saw that house on the online listings, we were kind of scrambling, trying to figure all of that out. And by the time that we did, it was a little bit too late that, the house was sold at that point already. So kind of echoes what we were saying in the beginning of the podcast. Don't be afraid to reach out early. It's okay to have that team ready to go for a long time. And you'd be surprised how short some people's processes are and how long some people's processes are. And your realtor really can facilitate that depending on your specific situation. So don't be afraid to reach out. It definitely helped us.
And I'm so glad you started with that. And Paulita, to answer your question, that's why I started this whole thing. It was my wife who looked at me back in 2018 and said, you're only happy when you help those people, the first-time home buyers. And I was like, yeah. And you know what the first-time home buyers don't understand? They're online saying, well, I didn't want to reach out because I didn't want to bug you. I wish they could do a reality TV show that was real inside a real estate office. Mm-hmm. When somebody calls and says, I just found a home on Zillow, I just went to an open house, to see the absolute chaos and scramble that we have to do to try to get you an offer in by Sunday night. Whereas it's not bothering us if you find the right person, the person who understands and has a system, the person who has a team like Lindsay. And then you got Madison. You have a 45-minute conversation with Lindsay last May, then we know we're not quite ready to go yet, but we'll take a little bit of time to get your finances together. And then you guys shop and then call your team. Hey, you want to go out this Saturday and go see a few homes? Remember what it was like when you saw the first few homes and you started to get all the ideas like we were talking about, like, oh, okay, we could sacrifice that, but this is really important. If you do that 6 months ahead of time, think about how easy this felt for you guys in just the few months that you worked with the team. Imagine if you had, 10, 20, 30 hours of conversations and emails and discussions before that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of greed in the industry and people want to, turn and burn and try to run their real estate team like a factory. And, that was the goal of this whole thing, was to help people like you find someone to be able to do what you did, which is so exciting. And the rewards are going to continue as you go through time. I could talk about that forever. Oh, wait, there's like 470 episodes. It really, people say it isn't, what you know, it's who you know. Never more relevant than in real estate. And was there anything else throughout the process? Because people hear me all the time. Was there anything else that we haven't talked about throughout the process that, like when your friends sit down and go, oh my God, what was it like buying a house, that you're going to tell them about this?
I want to say one of my friends actually sent us a meme last week. And the meme is like little cartoon characters. And it's like when you and your love are just relaxing at night or something, and you find out a couple your age bought a house. And that's what she sent to me because she doesn't have a house. And I'm trying to tell her, like, everyone's situation is different. And Rich and I were just laughing because we were like, it's just funny because our situation is that we want to be in this area, in this neighborhood, for the next several years. And that's why we bought a house here. But she's from out of state. And I was trying to tell her, and I have to tell her more about, like, there's nothing to be feeling like you're missing out about, because if you're going to be leaving that area, it's not worth it to buy a house, sell the house, all the closing costs and everything like that. So she's renting now. And, I think that's a great idea for her because she's not even sure what state she'll be living in a couple of years.
Absolutely. You have to keep in mind, selling a house has a, 6, 7, 8% price tag. And so that means your home has to go up that much in order for it to make sense for you. And I tell people all the time, I'd rather talk to you a year ahead of time. And then, when you think you'd be bothering us, and to be able to say, well, maybe this isn't the best decision for you. And, you guys, a lot of people take their time window shopping like you guys did, but having that conversation, especially now that you know what you can get from the real estate team, who can show you things that you don't know. But my goodness, this is such an incredible result for you and your cats. So I'm so glad that it worked out for you guys. Throughout the process, when you were, Richard, when you were the secretary and you were going through that, were you surprised at how many different hands got involved with the actual purchase of the home?
100%. And even when you're closing, when you're in that final session in the room with the title company, your realtor, your lender, all the other people that are involved in this process, it really does kind of hit you by surprise. It's like, there's a lot of people involved in the purchase of my first home. And so kind of getting everyone together on the same page can be a little bit difficult. But ultimately, I feel like the team did a great job facilitating that between the lenders and the title companies. Because you have to remember, these are all kind of their own entities. Like they don't necessarily all work together all the time. And it might be the first time that a specific title company is working with, your lender and vice versa. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. And it is really amazing to see everyone come together and pull through and help us out through that process and, land us in our first home. And kind of to backtrack a little bit, I do want to say, even though memes like that one are very funny, and I definitely laughed at it when I read it for the first time, I do want to say too, as daunting as it might seem, a lot of people that think they can't do it, you can do it. You really can do it. It's just a matter of, does it make sense for you to do, is a question that you kind of have to ask yourself on a personal level. And your realtor and your team can definitely help you figure that out if it's right for you. And much to kind of that same point, our friend doesn't know if she's going to stay in the area and she is thinking about moving. So it's not the most reasonable thing to be looking for a home and spending the time doing that if you don't know what you're going to be doing 3-5 years from now. And that's definitely an important factor to consider when you're purchasing a home.
Did you come into them with the adjustable rate mortgage idea, or was that an idea that was thrown to you from the team?
So that was an idea that was thrown to us from the team as a potential good option, considering our, personal situation. So there were definitely plenty of other loans and options that were given to us, but we really kind of sat down, and the two that we were debating between, it was a 30-year conventional mortgage or the 7-year ARM. And so I think there really wasn't a wrong choice between either of those. We ended up going for the ARM, just kind of based off the conversations that Paulina and I had and what we thought made the most sense for our situation. So that's kind of how we decided on that specific loan.
Yeah, and there's no way for me, even as long as we've been talking right now, there's no way for me to say, oh yeah, that was the right move for you. It was a lot more research into your own numbers and bouncing it off people that could say, okay, well, if you do this, here could be the results. So I'm so glad, because whether it's 20% down or PMI or using an ARM or even using a low down payment, all these things have these old stigmas from people. And I just want to go, hey, Boomer, when was the last time that your rent went up, 165% in 20 years or whatever? It's like, it's a different world now, and you guys have to do new math. So that's great. And the cats like the place. That's the most important thing. Kitties love the place.
Yeah, at the apartment, there wasn't that much square footage. And then our rent, every time we renewed our lease, it went up. So we were trying to sign long leases, like 12 plus months, but still every time it ended and we re-signed, it went up. And Rich actually proposed the idea of buying a house. I would say when our last lease ended, what was it, like fall?
So our most recent lease was 14 months. And I had pitched the idea before we signed our last lease, 14 months ago. Hey, we should look into buying a home. I've been listening to How to Buy a Home by this guy, David Sidoni, on my drives to work. And, mortgages don't sound that much more expensive than rent. And based off the stories and the accounts and testimonials that I hear from people that are doing it, it seems like a wise decision. And so we put in a little bit more research, spoke to a couple more people, and, figured this does make sense for us. And I think we followed through and executed our plan, and couldn't be more happy with the result.
Okay. And so that's why you decided to so graciously give us your time on a Saturday afternoon in your new home, because you heard other people and now you're looking to pay it forward. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like had you not had those testimonials of real people, that level of trust wouldn't be there. So the fact that you do bring first-time home buyers into that, and, it goes to show other people you can do it. If you just make a plan you have the right people, the right support, and you execute, you can do it too. So I think that's an important message to send out to people. Even though it seems daunting, it's a very doable.
The industry has made it where you do the work on your own buyers and then reach out and we'll tell you if you're there yet. And that should be completely flip-flopped, which is, hey, reach out. I'm telling you, more than 2/3 of the time, people who do the work on their own and come to us, they're more ready than they think. But if you're not, then great, we'll give you a plan and we'll get you there. Because now people are going to be inspired by you and go, okay, how do I be like Rich and Paulita? And I'll be like, okay, great, let's take a look at your numbers. And then I'll say, and you have to get cats who knock over things. Then you'll be exactly like Rich and Paulita. So thank you guys so much for sharing your story. It's such a wonderful... I appreciate you taking the time on the Saturday, and just know my family appreciates it because now Dad's going to be in a good mood on Saturday night. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for helping guide through this process and connecting us with Lindsay, Madison, our lender, Vicky, and the rest of the team. Truthfully,
oh, you guys worked with Vicky too?
We worked with Vicky.
I'm sorry.
It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's...
Yeah.
It's a super team. It's the Philly super team. Like as far as the education component plus the savvy. You know, people either think you're going to get some guy who knows everything about it, but he's going to be short and curt and not have time for you, or they're going to have all the time in the world for you because they don't have any other clients and they don't know how to do their job. But like that team you got, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely 100% super happy with our team and can't thank you enough.
That's cool. Well, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you as well. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday night and take care.
Yeah,
and everyone listening. Yes, everyone listening, definitely reach out to David if you have any questions. He's the right resource.
And also he's a real person, just to let you know, because you'll read the emails and texts and be like, is this really David? And it is, just to let you know.
It's not an AI. It's not an impersonator. You're speaking to a real person. So
I appreciate that because it's been, especially the last couple of years, I've been like, dude, this is me. You said, like people, they'll give me a little bit of information and I'm like, dude, you can buy a house. Like, really? And I have to say something silly in my text so they know it's me. So, yeah. But yeah, this is we're helping thousands of people, but that's all I do. I wake up every morning and I go through, like hundreds of individual people. I'm just doing what I did here in Southern California on a grander scale, and I couldn't do it without the support of the unicorns. So it is really me. Thank you for that plug. My God, you guys, it's like the greatest commercial ever. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Take care now.
Thank you.
Have you heard the interviews where I do this?
I guess I'm aware of it now. Go ahead.
Okay, we're back. He didn't even know I was going to do this. We were talking off mic. Go ahead, Richard. What else do you want to say, Rich?
So I did have kind of one more pointer situation happen to me that I think might be beneficial for first-time home buyers. So I was employed and I had a per diem job, or just kind of a job on the weekends that I worked for some extra money. In the middle of my home purchasing process, I was actually still under contract. I got promoted at my per diem gig, which then became my full-time job. So my original full-time job that I got my loan and, everything under, that Vicky helped me so hard to get approval for, eventually ended up not being, applicable at all because I had a new job and a new income. And I didn't actually get paid my first paycheck up until a few days. I think it was the Friday before I was closing, and I closed on a Tuesday. And so we were kind of stressing out about that because you hear, oh, don't switch jobs in the middle of purchasing a home. That's something you really don't want to do. And as long as you're in the same field and you're making ballpark around the same money, it isn't a big deal as long as you explain all of that to your lender. And I'm sure they'll understand, especially in a promotion scenario. They're happy for you when things like that happen. And they want that for you.
Yeah, and Vicky was so happy. She was like, oh, no problem. Let me just redo the entire loan.
Let me just redo all this hard work that I did for you. No problem at all. I'm happy for it. And So, yeah.
Do you know the saying? Do you know the saying about the duck that looks all calm on top and their feet underneath are like completely going super fast? Yeah. That was Vicky. Because you had a unicorn, she was like, yes, it's true. Same field, no problem. The timing of it, she was like, sure. And then, you guys hung up the phone and then she was like, ah!
But
then we made it happen, which was awesome.
Yes, because you when you have that love, the expertise, people used to say, oh my gosh, you'd be a great realtor, David. You have a great personality. And I'm like, realtor isn't about, look at me, I'm an extrovert. You're putting out fires all day long. And it takes expertise to know how to do that. And all we want is the best thing for you. This home is the best thing for you, and this new job is the best thing for you. Sure, we can make it work. But I appreciate you coming back to give the lesson to people, because just like you don't need 20% down, just like PMI isn't the devil, you can change jobs. I don't recommend you do it to your lender a couple days before you close, but you can change. But you can change jobs if you're in the same field without there being a year or two waiting period for you to get reapproved. So thank you very much for coming back on. This is Goodbye for Real, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
A huge thank you to Richard and Paulita for bringing you guys all the tips and tactics and techniques. And if you're looking for more interviews, we're going to put the episode guide in the show notes. That has a full list of interviews. We usually drop one about once a week, but we've got over 100 in that episode guide. So if you're sick and tired of listening to me, go there and listen to other people and hear their stories. And if you've got your own questions, go to howtobuyahome.com, hit Ask David, or Ask Me for a Unicorn right there. And keep on working, keep on doing the plans, make this your last lease ever. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.